Good morning. How are you all this morning? I hope you're doing well. Well, here we are. We are going to have our last story about Joseph today. Now let's recap. When we left Joseph, he was in Egypt, and he had told the Pharaoh about the Pharaoh's dream, that it meant they would have 7 years with lots and lots of food, and then they would have 7 years with no food at all. So Joseph was helping the Pharaoh by being in charge of collecting all the extra food during the first 7 years. And he put it away and he stored it. So when the crops weren't growing well and the animals were getting sick in the last 7 years, they would have food in their storage bins to eat. And that's where we left off Joseph. And if you remember last week, I said, what's going on with Joseph and his family and his brothers? We talked about them and then we didn't see or hear from them. Well, this week, we're going to hear about Joseph's brothers again. You see, during the 7 years where the crops didn't grow and all the animals got sick, everyone in the land and everyone in Canaan, everyone in Egypt, everyone needed food to eat. And Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to ask the Pharaoh if they could buy some of the stored up food that Joseph was in charge of. So when his brothers came, Joseph saw them and he recognized them right away. He knew who they were, but his brothers were not expecting to find him in charge in a Pharaoh's palace in Egypt, so they didn't see Joseph for who he was. And Joseph, well, at first, he kind of was thinking, my brothers weren't very nice to me. Maybe I should not be very nice to them. And he was giving his brothers a hard time. He wouldn't sell them any of the food. He kept telling them, no, you're spies. I don't believe that you're here to buy food. You go back home and you bring me the youngest brother and you bring him here. And so all of Joseph's brothers had to go all the way back to Canaan and get the youngest brother. And they all came to Egypt again. And this time, when they came, Joseph thought about it and said, while I've been here in Egypt, I've learned a lot. I've learned that it's more important to be helpful and that you need to forgive people when maybe they don't make a good choice. And you need to make the good choices and show them what they should do. So this time, Joseph not only let his brothers buy the food, but he told his brothers who he was. Now, Joseph's brothers, they had been feeling pretty bad about what they did to Joseph. And Reuben, do you remember Reuben? Reuben was the brother that told them to let Joseph go and that what they were doing was a bad thing. Reuben said to the other brothers, we deserve the way Joseph treated us because of what we did to him. And the other brothers listened. They knew what they had done was wrong, and they knew they had to ask Joseph's forgiveness. What do you think? Do you think Joseph forgave the brothers? Would you forgive your brother or your sister if they did something not nice to you? I think you would. I know you would, because you have a good heart and you know that the best way to get someone to treat you well is for you to treat them well. And sure enough, Joseph forgave his brothers. and they were once again a family. And this time they were a family who had enough to eat because they shared in the supplies that were put aside. Isn't that wonderful? What a great story about forgiveness, and what a true story about family. Sometimes it's tough, but we love each other, so we make it through it and we always forgive. This week, you can go online and you can watch a Veggie Tales video about a song called about forgiveness. And it's a sing-along song too, so you can sing along. You know that I'm singing along with it with the little bouncy ball. Actually, it's a tomato, the little bouncy tomato. And you can pretend that you're singing with me. Also, this week online, there is a picture that you can color of two little critters forgiving each other. And there's a heart for you to put your family in. And if you want to make puppets to remind you about the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years without enough, then you can do that too. And then you can remember the story of Joseph. All right, guys, it's time for our prayer. Today for our prayer, what we're going to do is we're going to fold our hands and we're going to bow our heads. And this time, I'm going to leave a space open. And I'm going to be silent because I'm going to say what I want to say in my heart. And if you want, you can answer and you can say what you want to say out loud, or you can do it like I do and just say it in your heart. But I'm going to leave a space for you to fill in the blank. All right. God, help my brothers and sisters, my cousins, my parents, all of my family this week. They need help with help our families grow strong and love each other. Amen. All right, guys. I love you. I miss you. And I'll see you next week when we start learning about another story.